I think it's fair for me now to reveal, I always thought it would happen on Sunday night. I always thought it wouldn't be finalized until the 11th hour.
For almost 14 months, Minister Freeland negotiated the new free trade agreement. Tonight, she's sitting down with us to answer the key question. Is this a good deal for Canada? We'll break down the agreement and its impact, from jobs to online shopping to politics. What Canada got, what it gave up, and what it means for you.
Also, history is made in Quebec. An upstart party will form the next government.
And 1 year ago tonight, this Manitoba woman was among those shot in Las Vegas.
It's hard to put things aside. It's never going to go away, but hopefully it will get easier.
How she's trying to move on and remembering those lost. This is The National.
After months of tense negotiations that sometimes turn personal, Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump emerged today on the same page, both selling the new trade deal as a victory for their respective countries. We'll look at what it means for the Liberals, for business, and for consumers. But first, let's start with the deal itself.
This is a terrific deal for all of us. Once approved by Congress, this new deal will be the most modern, up-to-date and balanced trade agreement in the history of our country.
It's an agreement that, when enacted, will be good for Canadian workers, good for Canadian business, and good for Canadian families.
Both leaders say this is a strong deal, but let's look at the big takeaways, starting with Canada's biggest sticking points.
There was this sense that when things were falling into place, I think one of the moments for me was when we realized that we had an intact Chapter 19.
Chapter 19 is the Independent Dispute Resolution Mechanism. It means an impartial third party settles disputes instead of U.S. courts. Canada has benefited from the clause, particularly around softwood lumber. In order to keep it in the USMCA, it might have meant that concession on dairy.
The deal includes a substantial increase in our farmers' opportunities to export American wheat, poultry, eggs, and dairy, including milk, butter, cheese, yogurt, and ice cream, to name a few. I want to be very specific.
So that's a win for Trump. The new deal gives U.S. farmers more access to Canada's dairy market, but it basically kept supply management, the system that limits dairy and poultry imports, intact. Though today, Freeland announced Canadian farmers affected will be compensated.
We want to be sure that the compensation is carefully thought through, and we have begun that process already.
Canada did avoid punishing auto tariffs, something Trump has been threatening for weeks. But steel and aluminum tariffs that were slapped on in the summer were not resolved in this deal.
We're going to continue discussing that issue and other issues between our two countries in a positive, good faith way, knowing that we've made significant progress and that there's always more to do.
So whatever the Canadian government had to give up, the Liberals are convinced they got the best deal possible. Now they just have to convince everyone else. Katie Simpson starts our coverage with the politics.
Many believed this day would never arrive. Donald Trump hated NAFTA and relied on his country's size, might, and used the threat of tariffs to get what he wanted at the negotiating table.
By the way, without tariffs, we wouldn't be talking about a deal. Just for those babies out there that keep talking about tariffs. So I think my biggest concession was making the deal.
To keep the deal alive, the Prime Minister knew Canada would have to make concessions, admitting today some were more difficult than others.
No minister in a generation has been given a more difficult task than this one, and you delivered.
He and the Foreign Affairs Minister who led the talks appeared relieved the negotiations are done.
Free and fair trade in North America is in a much more stable place than it was yesterday. We now have a path forward.
Whichever way that path leads, it will likely become a defining moment for Justin Trudeau on how he's managed the Trump administration and Canada's most important relationship.
We will continue to work on things that allow us to benefit our workers, benefit our citizens, and take on the world together.
The work at home now begins for the Liberals, who have to convince Canadians they landed the best deal possible in uncertain circumstances. The opposition isn't going to make it easy.
The United States is measuring their success in terms of what they got, and Canada is measuring their success by measuring what they didn't have to give up. So it's pretty clear on which end of the stick we're on.
The deal may have a new name, but we've signed a deal that's worse than the previous one.
But Minister Freeland is clearly ready and willing to defend this deal.
The Conservatives seem to have discovered a lot of Monday morning courage, having counseled throughout this negotiation that Canada take a softer line. And we got a good deal for Canadians.
And Katie joins us now. This all came together pretty quickly over the weekend, as you well know, but you've got some details about the moment that Canada knew there was a deal that was possible.
Rosie, I want you to picture this. It's Saturday inside the office of the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff. In the room are all of the key players leading Canada's NAFTA negotiating team, and they're on a conference call with Bob Lighthizer, who is Donald Trump's top man on trade. In the room with the Canadians, I'm told, is Minister Freeland, the Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, several senior advisors to the Prime Minister, along with the Canadian ambassador to the U.S. and Canada's chief NAFTA negotiator. During this call, Robert Lighthizer says that the Americans are willing to allow Canada to keep Chapter 19 intact. That's when I'm told Minister Freeland's arm shot straight into the air. She had a yay kind of moment. And from there, they called the Prime Minister, let him know what had happened, and things came together pretty quickly.
Good thing it wasn't a video conference. Okay, Katie, what happens next in all this?
Well, there's not expected to be much trouble in Canada or Mexico getting this through the ratification process. The big question mark is the U.S. There are midterm elections coming up in November, and those members of Congress will be voting on this deal. Now, if those members of Congress that get elected during those elections don't like this deal, this could complicate this entire process.
Okay, Katie Simpson tracking this story as she does. Thank you.
Thanks.
The fine print of this trilateral deal is, of course, where the winners and losers will be determined. Businesses, unions, lobby groups still poring over those details today, looking for the true cost of concessions. Jacqueline Hansen has reaction from the industries.
In a small community on the Canada-U.S. border, dairy farmer Jason Erskine says he's already losing sleep over the new deal with his southern neighbors.
When the information started to come in last night, it was very discouraging. It was quite upsetting.
Canada's dairy supply management system is still protected, but Canadian farmers will have to give up about 3.6% of the market. Some say that's too much.
I just wish Canada could have done better. I think we could have done better in negotiating this.
What would you like?
Meanwhile, workers in the auto industry are optimistic about their future. President Trump's repeated threat of tariffs on Canadian cars seems to be in the rearview mirror.
Well, a bit of a sigh of relief. I think we're really, pleased and encouraged by this moving forward.
If the U.S. does trigger tariffs on autos eventually, Canada will be exempt up to a level far above what Canada currently exports. Hefty tariffs on steel and aluminum are still in place. The union that represents steel workers says they are being sacrificed as part of the deal, and that the Canadian government sold out its workers. But there is hope the tariffs won't last much longer.
We think that the government of Canada will take the opportunity to build on the momentum achieved by this agreement.
Even dairy farmers may get some relief. The government promises to fully compensate them for what they lose in the deal.
We're not looking for government handouts, but I guess if you squeeze us hard enough, we're going to need something. But it's not what we wanted.
What the help for farmers will look like is expected to be worked out before the new deal is ratified. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
So you may want to know what this new trade deal could mean for your finances. Peter Armstrong looks at it from the perspective of the consumer. Peter, these are obviously big, important issues, but if we zoom in on them, what kind of changes could we expect for consumers here?
It's an important distinction, Rosie, because in a lot of ways, the things that are kind of difficult politically are actually pretty good for consumers. I mean, we talk about dairy as a problem, but really we're talking about potentially at least cheaper milk for families. You have politicians chalking up copyright copyright and patent protections as a win, but patent extensions will mean that patients in Canada will pay more for drugs, if only because they can't get to generic drugs quite as quickly and will have to pay more for a brand name.
Okay, we know that we've opened up the dairy market to other countries in the past, and in that instance, $4.3 billion was the compensation that was given back to dairy farmers. Any sense of what we could expect this time?
We don't really know yet, but certainly billions of dollars. I mean, consumers pay one way or the other, whether it's at the cash register or through their taxes. And economists say, yes, more U.S. milk and cheese will come in, but consumers may not save as much money as they might have hoped. I mean, it's a tiny sliver of the broader market, just 3.6%, and this is going to take decades to fully kick in.
All right, let's talk about duty-free shopping rules for a moment. This is the one that interests me the most. We've boosted the limit to $150. How's it actually going to work?
There are two kind of main pillars within what they call the de minimis limits. You have on the one hand the duty-free limits, and the other hand is the sales tax threshold that we don't talk about as much. Each of them used to be $20. Now, though, the duty-free limit is rising to $150, but the sales tax threshold is only rising to $40. And duties run 2%, taxes can run as high as 15%. So, Rosie, if you're spending more than $40, you're going to owe somebody some money.
Okay, I'm not out of the woods yet then. Thanks, Peter. The CBC's senior business correspondent, Peter Armstrong. So is the new NAFTA really better? Did any personalities get in the way of these negotiations? We'll hear more about those tense moments at the table a little bit later on The National in my interview with Minister Freeland.
We certainly had many tough moments in the negotiation, as you do in any negotiation of this complexity. But I am very confident that Ambassador Lighthizer throughout was negotiating in good faith, and he was a smart, and is a smart and creative counterparty to negotiate with.
My full interview with the minister a little bit later on The National, but there's another huge Canadian political story in Quebec tonight, and Andrew, you've got that.
Yeah, it's an election result the likes of which we have not seen in half a century. So that's François Legault, the leader of the right-leaning Coalition Avenir Québec, just on the right side of your screen, and he will win the night. For almost 50 years, the Liberals and the Parti Québécois have traded power back and forth, but now a new player is seizing the reins, and the CAQ is doing it in convincing fashion. They needed 63 seats to form a majority. It's pretty clear they'll get their wish, a majority CAQ government. The Liberals will be in opposition, the PQ has been decimated, and the little engine that could. The left-leaning Québec Solidaire, more than doubling their seats from 3 to 8. Jayla Bernstein joins us now live from the Coalition Avenir Québec headquarters in Quebec City. Jayla, a historic win. How transformative is it? I mean, what does a CAQ government mean for Quebec?
There are going to be a lot of significant changes for Quebecers. First off, we now are going to have a right-of-centre government, which of course is a change from the last four-year mandate of the Liberals. Also tack on to that the fact that the CAQ has campaigned on a promise for electoral reform. They had promised that this will be our last first-past-the-post election, so we can expect that change over the course of the next 4 years. And another thing that I want to touch on is immigration. That was a hotly contested point over the course of the election campaign. Legault had promised and has promised that if elected, he would introduce a French values and language test that immigrants would have to pass if they want to stay here in Quebec.
Right, so things that could change things not just for the next election cycle, but conceivably for many election cycles down the road. The flip side of this, I mean, you mentioned the defeat of the Liberals. What does this mean for Philippe Couillard?
Well, it means that his future is uncertain. He spoke just a little while ago saying that he does believe that he has left Quebec in a better place than how he sounded back in 2014. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Fellow English-speaking Quebecers, I want to say, you are like us, first-class Quebecers. Stay with us. Build our Quebec with all Quebecers. Yes, French is our official language. English is not a foreign language in Quebec.
And so he has said, Liberal leader Philippe Couillard has said that he's going to take a few days to reflect on his future. So we'll be waiting to see what his answer is to that question.
Okay, lots going on tonight. Jayla, thanks so much. We'll let you get back to it. And of course, we'll be updating these results throughout the evening.
To the U.S. now, where there are new questions tonight about the past behavior of President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court and whether Brett Kavanaugh told the truth last week when he testified under oath. The FBI has just 4 more days to investigate allegations that Kavanaugh committed sexual assault. The CBC's Keith Bogue has the latest from Washington.
Senator Flake, Donald Trump, Brett Kavanaugh, can you hear us now?
With 5 weeks left in the midterm elections campaign, Democrats have seized the issue of whether Judge Brett Kavanaugh should be confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. The FBI has begun a new background check on Kavanaugh to investigate allegations of sexual assault. But since his testimony last week, there are also new questions about his honesty. For instance, he said this about his drinking in college.
I liked beer. I still like beer. But I did not drink beer to the point of blacking out.
There were certainly many times when he could not remember what was going on.
This former Yale classmate tells a different story tonight.
In downplaying the degree and frequency of his drinking, Brett has not told the truth. I felt it was my civic duty to tell of my experience while drinking with Brett.
At a news conference earlier, Donald Trump had first ignored questions about Kavanaugh.
Can you promise to release the full findings
Give me
from
your
the
question,
FBI
please.
after they finish their report?
Give her the mic, please.
When he did take a question about Kavanaugh's drinking, he described much more forthright testimony than Kavanaugh had actually given.
He's had a little bit of difficulty. I mean, he talked about things that happened when he drank.
Democrats were already zeroing in on what they believe is
Judge Kavanaugh's difficult relationship with the truth.
This matters to everyone because it matters to Senator Jeff Flake, as he and Democrat Chris Coons agreed on CBS 60 Minutes on Sunday.
If Judge Kavanaugh is shown to have lied to the committee, nomination's over?
Oh, yes. I would think so.
Still, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says there will be a confirmation vote on Kavanaugh, and it will be this week. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Washington.
And let's go now to some of the other developing stories we are tracking tonight. Walmart Canada is admitting it sold contaminated food to customers after the Fort McMurray wildfire in 2016. Altogether, Walmart and a senior manager were fined $40,000 today after pleading guilty to 10 charges under Alberta's Public Health Act. In a statement, the company admitted that after the fire, it sold food not fit for human consumption, despite being ordered by the province to throw those items away. Meanwhile, Facebook is facing some legal trouble here in Canada over a recent security breach. A Toronto law firm announced today it's proposing a class action lawsuit after hackers gained access to 50 million users' accounts by exploiting bugs in the system. In a statement, the firm said it had filed the suit on behalf of all Canadians affected by the breach, and you may be one of them if you were logged out of your account on Friday.
Ahead tonight on The National, he thought it was simply a text message, but it turns out his cell phone was being hacked. Why he thinks Saudi Arabia is to blame.
Also, as the death toll climbs in Indonesia, the desperate search for survivors continues. We'll show you the remarkable rescues in the wake of a devastating tsunami.
And a year ago tonight, she was caught in the gunfire in Las Vegas. A Canadian survivor shares her struggle to recover.
Would it made a difference? I mean, whatever was in his mind, we'll never know.
Suddenly someone is contacting you and telling you that your phone might be infected or might be hacked. I said, okay, sorry, just I have to ask some questions.
We put so much of our lives on our phones, and imagine if you found out yours had been hacked, potentially by an unfriendly foreign power. Omar Abdulaziz is an activist from Saudi Arabia, and he's criticized that country for its human rights abuses. In 2014, Canada granted him political asylum. He thought he was safe until he got a call about his phone. Our technology reporter, Matthew Braga, picks up the story.
What did you order and what were you expecting?
It was protein powder, so I was waiting. I want to work out.
Omar Abdulaziz didn't think much of the text message that said a package was on its way. He had just ordered some protein powder from Amazon. Maybe this was it? Only later he would realize it was not.
The message was on June.
The text message was fake, a phishing scheme, and the link pointed not to a tracking number, but spyware. When clicked, it would silently take over his phone, giving the spyware's operator total control.
Maybe they were listening to every single call that we had. They were listening, they were reading our chat.
They being the government of Saudi Arabia. Researchers at the University of Toronto's Citizen Lab say it's likely he was targeted by the regime, notorious for its attempts to silence activists. Abdulaziz has no doubt. He has been openly critical of the Saudi government's human rights record, and this summer spoke out against the Saudi-Canadian diplomatic feud. His activism has drawn hundreds of thousands of followers online.
In every single minute, so many people are contacting me via my Instagram, my Snapchat, my Twitter account. So now they are in real danger because of that.
Already, he says 2 brothers, along with several friends, have been jailed in Saudi Arabia, and he's convinced the spyware on his phone turned them into targets. He had no idea his phone was infected until Citizen Lab got in touch.
Because they said, we see that you've been followed by the Saudi authorities.
Digitally?
Yeah.
For years now, cybersecurity companies and watchdogs have been tracking the use of powerful spyware called Pegasus. It's made by an Israeli company, NSO Group, which says it's only sold to governments for serious investigations, like terrorism or national security. But there have been numerous cases of abuse against an activist in the United Arab Emirates, dissidents, journalists, and political opponents in Mexico, and now Omar Abdulaziz.
When the government gets to decide who is a legal target, then you're at the mercy of whether or not that government is ethical in how they're going to use it.
Recently, Citizen Lab researchers attempted to map Pegasus infections around the world, and much to their surprise, they found one in Quebec. They can't say for certain it was Saudi Arabia, but they're highly confident given the similarities to previous attacks.
There's a reckless nature to this type of targeting. It goes to show how much money the government is willing to expend on somebody who is effectively a nuisance because of what they're expressing freely over social media. This is likely going to amplify the dispute between Canada and Saudi Arabia, no doubt.
Abdulaziz says he won't be silenced and believes that continuing to speak out is the best thing he can do to bring about change and his friends and family's release.
So many people are scared. They're scared to talk about what happened to them. Maybe they experienced something even worse than me. But someone has to say no. Someone has to stop against this.
Matthew Braga, CBC News, Sherbrooke, Quebec.
Matt asked the Canadian government how it would respond to a foreign government's use of spyware against a person in Canada. Here's the response. We are aware of the report and are reviewing. We take any such allegations very seriously. We're firmly committed to freedom of expression, including online. Any questions about alleged criminal activity should be directed to the RCMP.
Up next on The National, we'll have more on our top story. In my interview with Minister Freeland, the Foreign Affairs Minister spent nearly 14 months negotiating a new trade deal, along with her team, of course, why she always knew it would be down to the wire, and the role Donald Trump played in it all.
The president clearly had some sort of issue with you. The fact that you're tough, you seem pretty hard to knock down. That obviously got under his skin for some reason. Do you think that that changed things? Do you think that you got in the way?
There was a lot of tension, I will say, between he and I think more specifically, and it's all worked out.
We worked very hard. We got to the right deal. We got to a win-win-win for all three countries.
So from months of slow and often tense talks to now this, a deal that all sides say was a winning one. That's how the two leaders framed the agreement today, putting their tough talk aside and focusing now on the sell. But the deal itself looks a bit different than what both leaders had likely imagined nearly 14 months ago. The negotiating tactics and the goalposts for what was considered a good deal definitely changed along the way as the Canada-US relationship was put to the test. So, did the Canadian government have the right strategy? Is this really a win-win-win? I sat down with Minister Freeland earlier today at her Parliament Hill office and asked her about the new trade deal. Good to see you, Minister.
Good to see you, Rosie. You were up late last night
Not
too.
as late as you, not as late as you, thankfully. When did you realize you were going to get a deal over the past 72 hours, not the past 14 months?
Okay, so I was gonna say, and this is really, really true, I always was confident we would get a deal. In the end, I always knew there was gonna be a lot of drama, but the reality is this is an economic relationship that works and that is balanced and mutually beneficial. And I really believe economic logic ultimately does prevail. But in a trade deal, you talk about trade negotiators, the professional guys, they talk about a landing zone. And I think that there were two key moments when the landing zone became apparent to me. The Americans had started off demanding 50% US domestic content in cars and car parts. That would have been devastating for Canada. In March, and I want to give Ambassador Lighthizer a lot of credit for this, the USTR, we came up with this idea of labor value content. So instead of it being US, it would be high wage labor, which of course includes Canada. And suddenly the US and the Canadian interests were aligned, and this was a deal that Canada could do in cars and car parts, which was always the most complicated and most important part of the deal. So that for me was moment one. Moment two was end of August, when we first went back to Washington. And when it was clear that the car deal had been concluded by the Mexicans, and also that the Americans really wanted us to be part of it, which also makes sense. This has always been a three-way agreement. The Canadian economic relationship is by far the most valuable one for the Americans. So it became clear to me in that first week that Ambassador Lighthizer had real goodwill when it came to getting a deal. And I knew at that point we would get a deal. And I think it's fair for me now to reveal I always thought it would happen on Sunday night.
Why did you think that? Because that was part of the negotiating strategy, or not on our behalf,
It
but on
wasn't
theirs? Or?
we would have loved to have done it a lot. It couldn't realistically, it wasn't possible just because of the time it takes until the spring. But we would have loved to have done it in the spring or any time subsequently. I was always convinced it wasn't going to happen until the 11th hour because Ambassador Lighthizer and his team are really good negotiators, and so are we. And so everyone just had to keep pushing until the end.
Okay, so I know that Chapter 19 was sort of nailed down and you were quite pleased with that over the weekend. Explain to Canadians why that it was so critical, why it was really a breaking point. It had to be there.
You know, what Chapter 19 does is it gives us laws and rules that govern our trading relationship with the United States and an independent binational panel that decides who's right and who's wrong. And we Canadians understand how close our ties with the United States are, how critical they are, but also that they are big and we are small. And so the way to make that work is to have a set of rules and to have an independent place you can go to figure out who's in the right and who isn't. Chapter 19 is that.
Fine, but...
Fine, excellent. This matters a lot in southwestern Ontario.
But would you not say that we now, NAFTA 2.0 is actually more managed trade rather than freer trade?
Not at all. Where is the managed element?
Dairy, pharma,
dairy has
chickens, all those things. This is not. You could not tell me that this is a freer trade deal than what you had before.
I actually, Rosie, would completely disagree with the premise of that question. I am not in favor of bringing in managed trade elements to a trade agreement, and we haven't done that here. When it comes to supply management, that has always been managed trade because of the nature of the Canadian supply management system. On cars, the trade is exactly as it has been before, but with new rules of origin.
And quotas if the 232 gets applied.
Well, but the quotas are not part of the agreement. This is actually, I'm glad you asked the question because this is a misapprehension that I have heard from other people, and it's just wrong. There are, and I want to be very, very clear, There are no quotas in NAFTA on car sales between the US and Canada. There are no quotas on car parts. When it comes to the side letter on 232 on cars and car parts, I think the way to think about that is it's like a flood insurance policy.
Okay.
A flood is probably not going to happen, but a prudent person, if they have an opportunity to get an insurance policy, will certainly get one. So what that side letter does is it gives us some comfort that in the, I believe, frankly, very unlikely event that the US were to impose 232 tariffs on cars and car parts, we would have a huge part, actually well over our current level of trade with the US, would be guaranteed not to be exposed to those.
Okay.
But this is a kind of, in an unlikely, a very unlikely scenario, insurance policy. It is not part of the main agreement.
Okay, and that's important, and that's a good way to explain it. Did you sacrifice steel and aluminum, though, to protect autos?
Not at all.
No.
And I have been really, really clear from day one when 232 first started to be discussed that it was on a completely separate track from NAFTA. That's how it has to be, and that's
it may
just,
be, but it's part of the
factually
negotiations.
correct.
I mean,
No,
because you know it's hanging over your head when you're having these conversations. That's the point. Whether it's on a separate track or not, it's there.
No, it is both legally and as a matter of what are you there actually talking about.
Yeah.
It's on a completely separate track, and in terms of, the hanging over your head aspect of things. One thing that we were very clear on the Canadian side is we were always going to have fact-based arguments. We were always going to look for compromises, creative compromises, as I think we did together with the United States in rules of origin in the car sector. We were always going to be polite, but at the end of the day, we were also going to be firm and resolute, and we were going to stand up for Canada. And I think we did that.
The president clearly had some sort of issue with you. Do you think that his impressions of you in some way colored the talks? The fact that you're tough, you seem pretty hard to knock down, that obviously got under his skin for some reason. Do you think that changed things? Do you think that you got in the way?
Again, Rosie, I would say my negotiating counterpart is Ambassador Lighthizer, and we certainly had many tough moments in the negotiation, as you do in any negotiation of this complexity. But I am very confident that Ambassador Lighthizer throughout was negotiating in good faith, and he was and is a smart and creative counterparty to negotiate with.
But he's tough. I mean, he says he's a tough curmudgeon.
Yeah, I don't think any country would like someone to be leading their crucial trade negotiations who is not tough. For Canada, what we believe in doing is absolutely having backbone. I don't think Canadians would like us to take any other approach, but always being polite, always having arguments based on facts, always looking for a compromise. And the final thing I'll say about this, Rosie, is I'm paid in Canadian dollars. My job is to get the best possible deal for Canadians and to serve Canadians, and that's what matters to me.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks
very
a lot,
much.
Rosie.
Thank you.
Up next on The National, as Las Vegas pauses tonight to mark 1 year since a gunman opened fire at a music festival, you'll hear from a Canadian who survived the attack as she describes a year of trying to recover both physically and emotionally.
You've tried to see some shows outside?
I did, but I can't do it. There's just something that sits in the back of your mind, I guess, that just doesn't feel right.
We are watching the situation in Indonesia tonight and the stunning aftermath of an earthquake and tsunami that struck on Friday. New images are revealing devastation that sometimes is hard to believe, but today's grim tasks are all too real, burying hundreds of dead to ward off disease and searching for hundreds more who may still be alive under the rubble. the official death toll has risen to 842, and the government says it could climb into the thousands. But 3 days after this deadly twin disaster, incredibly, lives are still being saved. These rescue workers pulled a man from ruins where he'd been trapped since Friday. And nearby, another rescue. This time, it's a woman who's pulled to safety. But the hard truth is that most teams are recovering bodies. These scenes all played out in Palu, a harbor city of about 330,000 people. On Friday, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck north of there, triggering a tsunami that sent towering waves crashing onto the waterfront. Buildings along the shoreline were practically flattened. But today, the beach was a welcoming refuge for some of the 4,000 people left homeless. At the airport, some of the injured and other vulnerable people were prepared for evacuation as supplies were unloaded for those who remained. Today, we got our first good look at Donggala. It's a more remote area, closer to the quake's epicenter, and very hard hit and hard for rescuers to get to. This man says aid took too long to arrive. Back in Palu, the push is on to bury bodies as quickly as possible, but also to identify them. Some people were seen opening body bags in a last-ditch attempt to find their loved ones.
And a somber anniversary today in Las Vegas, a sunrise ceremony to mark 1 year since the largest mass shooting in modern American history. 58 people were killed, including 4 Canadians, when a gunman opened fire at an outdoor country music festival.
We have all changed. We have all been broken. But we can find a way to pick up those pieces and glue it all back together. It was then that I became aware
Minda
of the
Smith's sister died that day. Her speech was followed by 58 seconds of silence, one for each of the victims, and then a release of white doves.
Each dove will have a name on its foot to represent our 58 angels. Please keep them in your thoughts always.
More than 800 other people were hurt in the shooting and the panic that followed. Among them, 47-year-old Jan Lamburn, who's from Toulon, Manitoba. She was standing near the left side of the stage when she was struck by a bullet, and 1 year later, she is struggling to heal both physically and emotionally. Briar Stewart has her story.
All right.
Climbing these stairs is both a physical and mental battle for Jan Lamborn.
With the right.
Each strenuous step
And switch.
demonstrates how far she's come.
We made it. Oh, hip. Wow, who needs physio? We're good.
But the pain is a reminder of just how she ended up here in the first place.
The body is definitely getting stronger. I have accomplished a lot this year.
It began as a long weekend away to see her favorite country singers in Las Vegas. It was Lamborn's first trip to the city. On the final night, just before 10 p.m., she snapped this pic of Jason Aldean on stage. Just a few minutes later, the nightmare began.
Run! Keep your head down! Run! Go!
The thousands gathered were under attack from where and by who they didn't know then. But the rapid gunshots kept coming.
I looked down and I could see I was bleeding. And the reality was, I'd been shot.
We first met Lamborn in the hospital 36 hours after she was shot in the abdomen, and texted her husband to say she loved him because she was afraid she wasn't going to make it. Living through that terror has scarred her body.
That's all I can think about.
And shaped her life.
Okay, let's get the air here.
Lamborn has spent most of the last year in this room trying to heal. Her pelvis was shattered. For 7 months, she sat and slept in a hospital bed here and then had to relearn how to walk.
I've graduated to the cane, so I'm feeling quite proud of myself. Yeah,
So what's the next goal then?
Just to be pain-free. Get rid of that constant reminder would be the best goal. Yeah.
Because what happened in Vegas continues to play out in her mind. She's been seeing a mental health therapist since the shooting.
It's hard to put things aside. It's never going to go away, but hopefully it will get easier.
Many of the things she once loved now induce anxiety. She's a big fan of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but going to an open-air stadium last month and walking through the crowds triggered her.
How is it when you're outside in a big area like that?
I'm not going to lie. I was scanning the place. Nobody was worried. They don't need to be, you know, but this is just my mind now.
And you've tried to see some shows outside?
I did, but I can't do it. There's just something that sits in the back of your mind, I guess, that just doesn't feel right. You know, I really need that security feeling right now. Here we go.
Which is why she's been sticking close to home and spending time in here.
This is my go-to spot when I need to just have time to myself. Just to come in and breathe, reflect. This is where you're replacing all your bad memories with good memories.
It's a room dedicated to her
I do.
love of country music. There are mementos from the few shows she's seen since the festival.
My survivor flag.
But mostly, it's a tribute to the victims and survivors of Vegas. And even though she sees it as a refuge, a place to reclaim memories,
every day is a new day. Can I come out now?
it sometimes gets a little too much.
This is me getting anxiety and walking away.
1 year on, investigators still don't know why the gunman checked into his room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, armed with an arsenal of weapons designed to kill as many as possible. When police entered his room, they found him dead. He killed himself. In the past year, investigators have pieced together how the carefully calculated shooting unfolded, but have never been able to determine just what motivated him.
Does it make any difference to you, though, not knowing why, even on some level?
Really? What is the reason? You know, some asshole didn't think that my life was worth living. That we didn't need to be here, that our families didn't need us. Like, yeah, not knowing would have made a difference. I mean, whatever was in his mind, we'll never know. I had a lot of visitors over the winter. Made lots of coffee.
Lambourne says she's only been able to get through the past year because of family and friends. Perhaps her biggest help has been the connections she made with other survivors from Vegas. On the night of the shooting, Lambourne dragged herself into a merchandise tent and hid under a wheelbarrow bleeding. That's where Justin Uhart found her and never left her side until she went into surgery.
There she is. Hey, how you doing?
They were reunited in the hospital in Las Vegas and now talk all the time.
I know.
And here is Uhart. That's the last name of the young man that saved my life.
She now has a permanent tribute to him, along with the victims.
To heal, but never forget, to honor the ones we lost, to celebrate the life we have, pardon me. I've never had anything mean so much.
She says these words give her strength to deal with the memories that she knows will always be there and is trying to figure out just how to live with. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Toulon, Manitoba.
And we will have more ahead tonight on The National. The Moment is next. We'll be right back. Voters in Quebec made election history tonight, breaking a half-century-long cycle of Liberal and Parti Québécois governments. There's a new party in power, led by François Legault of the Coalition Avenir Québec. His will be a majority government. And it took the party just half an hour to all but seal the deal after polls closed. That is our moment of the day.
CBC is projecting it will be a CAQ majority government.
Oh my God. Yes! Yes! Merci. Merci. Merci.
Well, I've watched both of you covering Quebec elections over the years, and so I'm curious, Andrew, your reflections tonight?
Yeah, well, it was just interesting that we really saw two races tonight, right? One at the top between the Liberals and the CAQ, another one at the bottom with the Parti Québécois and the Quebec Solidaire Party. And the Parti Québécois just absolutely decimated. I mean, their worst showing in, 50 years? And Quebec Solidaire with a miracle showing, going up to 10 seats. They manned the night that way. That's incredible for them.
Yeah, and there's been probably two elections that have been this sort of significant in Quebec. 1936, when Maurice Duplessis came into power, and then 1976, when the Parti Québécois was created. This probably, we will fall in line with big moments in Quebec politics. That's the National for October 1st. Good night, everyone.
Good night.